how our body regulates body weight and how we can use nutrition, or what approaches do we have that we might be able to alter body weight. And this is a very, very, I would say, confusing area, controversial in many aspects, because there is a lot of opinion. And when you go to the science and you look really how these mechanisms are regulated, we see that there is a lot that we don't know, and what we know often, or what is important to know, is often not very well explained. So let's see if we can start from the most basic concept and then build from there. So I think every time we talk about weight control, energy metabolism, the main thing that people usually talk, and this is widespread in the literature, is the concept of energy in and energy out. This is easy to understand, but when you actually go and try to apply this in real life, you see that wait a minute, it doesn't work the way that we expect it to work, because there are so many nuances that usually are ignored in this process. But first, let's understand what this means. So energy balance, the idea of energy balance is that the energy that goes in other words, the amount of energy you eat, and this is related to carbohydrate, fat, protein, because these are the three macronutrients that really allow or provide calories. And also, as we learned on Friday, alcohol. But alcohol is it's not considered a nutrient. It's something that we have from, you can get it from the diet, but it's not the typical nutrient that we say. But in any case, all four can provide energy. So how much you eat refers to energy intake, obviously. And on the other side of this equation, you have how much energy you spend. And basically, this is related to exercise, to daily life activities, everything you do that requires energy. And also, obviously, the metabolic rates, or your basal metabolism, how much energy your body requires to maintain its basic functions. So on these two sides of the equation, we have energy we call in and energy out. And the concept is that if you're in energy balance, it means that energy in and energy out, they are the same. So the equation is balanced. So your body weight, in theory, should be stable, because whatever you're taking in is being consumed by whatever you're spending. So there is that balance. So, and based on this concept, it would be very simple. You would say, well, so if I want to lose weight, I just need to break this balance. I need to eat less and spend more. Again, very simple. I think everybody understands that. And one of the reasons why this concept is so widespread, because it seems logical in when we look at it the first time. And this is based on the concept of the first law of thermodynamics, which means, and I'm sure you probably studied this in high school, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it has to be transformed. So the human body is constantly transforming energy by combusting foodstuffs to produce heat. In other words, when you eat a certain amount of food, again, if it's in the form of carbohydrate, fat, or proteins, your body's going to have to process it according to the different metabolic pathways that exist. If it's carbohydrate, you're going to use it to make glycogen, or to replace the glycogen that you used in muscle and liver. But you have an excess. If you have an excess of carbohydrate, you're going to convert it into fat. So this is an energy transformation process, because you're converting sugar into fat, and fat is stored in your adipose tissue. If it's protein, protein will be used to break down into the amino acids. Those amino acids now will be used to make protein. Everything else the protein or amino acids are used for. The excess will have to be either oxidized, again another transformation process, or you can also make it into fat and store as fat. Some of the amino acids can be used to make fat. Now, if you eat fat, which is already in its final form, I would say, your body uses fat for energy. You can oxidize fat. But if you don't, well, the excess amount of fat that goes beyond what you can oxidize will be stored in your adipose tissue. That particular nutrient or macronutrient doesn't need much transformation. Either transformation if you oxidize and make it into energy, or if it's not, if it's the surplus, it just goes straight into the adipose tissue. So you have all these different substrates that your body has to handle or deal on a day-to-day basis, depending on how much you eat, what you eat, and how regular you eat. So the transformation of these foodstuffs can produce heat, which means that your body oxidizes a substrate. Some of the energy that is in that particular substrate is lost as heat. So you expel it, you release as heat. The other thing is when you exercise, for instance, you break down ATP, and a large portion of that energy is not used for locomotion, for movement, is actually used to, is released as heat. So much so that if you exercise, your body heats up, you have to deal with the production of heat, and there are many ways your body can handle it. You can either irradiate the heat, or you can sweat to put out water and heat along with it. So there are many different transformations or energy transformations that your body does, and that's basically what the first law of thermodynamics tells you. So if you eat a certain amount of food that contains energy, that energy will end up either being transformed into heat, or it will be stored one way or another in your body. That's the concept that comes behind this idea of energy in and energy out. What this law of thermodynamics does not tell us is how your body does this. Because this is interesting when you're studying an engine, a machine, or something that that is pure transformation of energy using not a biological system. Because in our body, there are many other things that are not considered when we talk about the first law of thermodynamics. So that applies to overall energy balance, but it doesn't tell us how the body actually handles food. Because in other words, we don't eat energy. We eat food. And food may be converted into energy. And we usually tend to relate to food as calories. But calories is nothing more than just a measure of heat. That is a very generic term that doesn't really inform much about what's going on in our body. So this is again, in general terms, it tells you about overall energy. But it doesn't really tell us much about how our body is actually dealing with all these things that we are ingesting.